right, so I do want to make very clear with talking about sustainable chocolate. I'm not trying to make anybody feel guilty about what they're doing with their purchases. How they spend their money is your decision. I'm just trying to make you guys more aware that every action we have, there's other reactions to it. There's a rippling effect. So how we purchase products, which products we decide to purchase, has an impact. And we may not think so. I go, well, I'm just one consumer. Well, there's 50 million consumers in the U.S. All of our decisions have, I don't want to call it consequences, but it has an impact. So people often, well, buy local. Absolutely, I support that 100%. How many people do it? How many people are buying local versus, it's easier just to order on Amazon? So the goal here is not, I don't want anybody to be feeling guilty. I just want people to become aware. And then you can say, I am making this purchase based on knowledge, based on information. I now at least know my decision-making process, what the results will be of that decision-making process. So we're talking about sustainability. Would you pay more for sustainable chocolate? That's the challenge. Consumers, we often want cheap products. It's why so many of our things are manufactured overseas, because the consumer drove that. The consumer demand for cheap product is what drove production of many of our goods overseas, because it's a cheaper labor force. So same challenge here with sustainable chocolate. Is it good for the environment? Sustainable chocolate? Absolutely. As we're mentioning in the other lecture, if somebody's doing sustainable chocolate, you're looking at multi-crop farming, which is incredibly beneficial. It's more work, it's more difficult, and that's often the big challenge with this type of process. You have an increase. I want the bigger font. You want an increase in native biodiversity. More native biodiversity decreases the need for things like pesticides. Guys, check out, there's videos out on YouTube about vineyards using ducks. You're like, how does this connect? Ducks and grapevines? Well, the ducks run around the vineyard eating all the insects that would normally be eating the grapes and the grapevines. So now you don't have to spray. So you decrease the need for pesticides, healthier product, less environmental damage, and let's talk about the big one for most businesses. You're saving money because you're not spending thousands of dollars on chemicals. But doing it this way does drive the price up because it's not an equal. You can't go completely sustainable and have the same price as something produced in mass quantity with no concern about sustainability. So those are the challenges we see with trying to create sustainability, is most consumers can't afford it, don't have an interest in affording it, or maybe just don't have an awareness about it. So the goal is, let's educate more people about sustainability and see, can we get more people on board? But a big concern, and this is not unique to chocolate farming. This is something that we see across the entire agricultural world, whether you're talking chocolate, you're talking beans and corn, I don't care what crop you're talking about, soil health is a huge issue. So we only have so much soil, and it's only going to be good for so long. The longer we can maintain soil health, the longer we can continue to produce large volumes of food to support human population. Now, healthy soil usually has what we call humus, water, minerals, and even air spaces within it. If it's compacted down, plants can't grow in there, water doesn't percolate down, it's not healthy soil. Healthy soil has an increased ion exchange between the soil and the plant root system. So you get this exchange of ions, you have healthier plants, you have higher yields, you have better productivity. All this works together when your soil is healthy. When we have sustainable farming, whether it's cacao or anything else, we tend to have healthier soil. When people shift and go unsustainable, their soil loses its health, and in the tropics, in the tropics, it goes unhealthy fast. Full sun plantations for cacao farming in the tropics, your soil quality decreases within a couple years. So about 3 to 5 years, your soil quality is shot. So then that leads to a massive increase in fertilizer use and irrigation, which costs a lot of money. But the reason why a lot of farmers in developing countries will go full sun is you get a faster return on yields, and you have larger initial yields. So I can make more money in a short term by doing unsustainable farming, but in 10 years I'm not going to have much of a farm. And sometimes we don't have the luxury of thinking 10 years down the road, and we have to focus on short term. But is there a way to do as much sustainability as possible is the key here. So big picture, the more biodiverse the farm, the more carbon sequestration we're going to have. Natural ecosystems exchange carbon in balance with the environment. Unfortunately, we have gotten way out of balance. So this is part of that challenge. When we're looking at sustainability, carbon sequestration is a huge issue. Okay, so here's the natural ecosystem. They're balanced. You got CO2 going into the atmosphere, and then CO2 getting sucked back into the plants. There's a great balance there. a sustainable cacao farm, it's been calculated that it will sequester about 60% of the CO2 that it gives off. You go, whoa, only 60%? Nothing's 100% perfect, but it's going to sequester about 60%. A sun-grown farm will only sequester about 30% of the CO2. So, pretty significant difference there. So which one's better big picture? Obviously sustainable. But can it be done in a way that is economically viable for the farmers and the community and the country? These are usually developing countries. Does that produce enough revenue for those countries to manage and be economically viable as a country? So, okay. All right. So we've talked about the chocolate, cacao. Spent a lot of time going over all of that. Everybody who had an almond in there. Let's take a quick look at the almonds. What's going on with almonds in our candy bar here? So almonds are grown on trees. For those not familiar with them, there's almond trees. And here's something that's kind of crazy. Whether it's an almond that you eat the nut, it's almond milk, almond in whatever form or fashion, the vast majority of the almonds are coming out of California. Okay, so about 80%. How crazy is that? 80% of the world's almonds are grown in California. Bees are the critical pollinator for almonds. So beekeepers from around the world, commercial beekeepers, will actually ship their bees to California during the pollination window for the almond orchards. There are billions of bees in California's almond orchards pollinating their trees to help increase the yields. So if we don't have the bees, let's think about the big picture. If we lose bees or decrease the amount of bees out there, you don't get as many almonds. Almonds decrease in productivity, availability, supply and demand. Price of your candy bar goes up because we don't have bees pollinating the almonds to make almonds to put into a candy bar. All of it's connected. That's what I want you guys to keep thinking about. So, all right, so this is a $21 billion per year industry just to make almonds. How crazy is that? The problem is mass production, monoculture, not sustainable. A huge issue in California is water consumption for almond production. It takes about 1.1 gallons of water to produce one almond. So I want you guys to think about that. How many almonds are in that candy bar? 5, 8, 10, 15 times 1.1. It tells you how many gallons of water needed to produce the almonds for your candy bar. And I'm not against it. I'm just trying to make people aware because I like the almonds too. But it's like, wow, is this really sustainable? So, okay, in the next part of the lecture, we'll wrap everything up here. I just want to kind of highlight what's going on in California with the almond production and the bee issue, because some of these topics we will see in future relevancy modules. All right, so stay tuned. One more part to go.